And we're off to a great start because today we get to talk about Arnold's debut film, Hercules in New York. And boy, was this bad. Yeah, this is rough. This is a rough film to sit through. And, I get someone's going to say, well, it's his debut film. What do you expect? But at the same time, it's embarrassing. It's. Have I seen worse? Yeah. Going overboard with Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler's first movie. If you really want to torture yourself, if you really want to pull your hair out, go watch that. Where this film, I believe, sits at a 3.3 on IMDb. Going Overboard is somewhere in the ones. So that should tell you just how bad that film is. Uh, the Rollerball remake, to me, is worse. This film is a comedy, but it's a really bad comedy. It's awful. Arnold's awful in the film, and there's just a lot of scenes where, like, you can laugh at some of the goofiness, but at the same time, it's bad. Like you got a scene, just an example. You got a scene where Arnold's character is in Central Park and he's fighting a bear, and obviously it's a guy in a bear suit. So you can laugh at it, but at the same time, it's still bad. Now, uh, now, for those who wonder, before I really get into the film and rant away, I did watch the version that has Arnold's voice, which actually came out later on DVD. There is a dubbed version out there, which I've seen a little bit of, and it's bad. The guy sounds nothing like Arnold. I mean, someone made a comment that he sounds like one of those infomercial guys from back in the day. So that should tell you just how out of place that dubbing is, because again, it sounds nothing like Arnold. At least in the version with Arnold's voice, you can understand what he's saying, but the accent is still rough. Um, his Austrian accent, his English is still rough, but you can understand what he's saying. But even like in the first 5 minutes of the film, he's saying lines like, I am tired of the same old faces, the same old things. And, it's, again, I know it's early Arnold, but, again, it's just bad. It's rough. But, so yeah, I did watch the version that has Arnold's voice, so I wanted to make that, um, I wanted to mention that. And it is on Tubi. So yeah, I'm plugging Tubi here, but it is up there. Uh, that's how I was able to watch the film. But get into the film itself. So okay, you got Hercules in Olympus, and he's bored of the life, and he wants to go to Earth, and he's trying to persuade Zeus. And right off the bat, I mean, the way that Olympus looks is very cheap. The production and the costumes is very, like the costumes look like they got from the Dollar Tree. If Dollar Tree was around back then, like these costumes are very cheap. You can obviously tell, by the sets and the production. And even throughout the film, you got this very annoying music, this Greek type of music. And I don't know, and I'm sure Greek music is better than this music. Um, so I'm not, bashing Greek music here, but throughout this film, it's annoying. For those who have seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. You get a very, annoying Greek music throughout the film. But like I said, Hercules wants to go to New York or to Earth. Zeus won't let him. But he's accidentally sent to New York by a lightning bolt that, with Zeus. And basically when he gets to New York, he's trying to figure out where he's at. Fish out of water type of scenario. He's a stranger in town, so there's a scene where he gets picked up by a boat, and they're trying to get a name. Then you have a little scene where, Hercules gets into a scuffle on the boat, and then you have a scuffle on the docks, which is bad because these guys are trying to stop him, and he's swinging this board around Yeah, that was bad. Bad choreography. Like I can't even call that a fight scene because the way it was shot and choreographed was bad. And then he meets the character Pretzi, played by Arnold Stang, um, and so they become buddies. And then from there, later on you got this professor character played by James Cameron. And James Cameron you've seen before in films like he was in Poltergeist. He had a bit part in Congo, Return of the Living Dead 2. I'm like, okay, I've seen him before. And his daughter in the film. And then mostly, throughout the film, it's just a lot of, shenanigans between Hercules and this character Pretzi. And, Hercules, like you see Hercules in these different, situations. Like in the beginning, you see him in the park, throwing the discus and doing these jumps. And yeah, that was bad. Like I could do it. And, the scene where he does the jump, obviously you can tell he just jumps out of frame, and which he probably jumped about 2 feet, and he comes back down into frame. Um, yeah, that was bad. And I've already mentioned the scene where he fights the bear in Central Park, where obviously it's a guy in a bear suit. You got a scene where, and I'm trying to remember some of the stuff because I watched it this past weekend and now I'm just reviewing it. You got a little scene where in this apartment, he gets into a fight with this guy, but it's mostly him just picking him up and kind of throwing him around a little bit. Uh, you know, a couple of scenes where he's trying to hit on the professor's daughter, and then a little bit later on, like you get these mobster characters that are trying to take advantage of Hercules, because Hercules, they want him to wrestle or to, like do these workout things, and that was silly stuff. But that's kind of the plot there. It's Hercules in New York. He's a fish out of water. He's a stranger in town. Pretzi is his buddy. He's trying to teach him different things. And meanwhile, throughout the film, it cuts back from Earth to Olympus, where Zeus wants him back. But Hercules wants to stay. And that was bad because there's a lot of scenes where it does that. It'll cut from Earth to Olympus. Zeus is looking to a crystal ball, which the crystal ball they probably got for like $2, because that's how bad and cheap Olympus is. Maybe there's a Dollar General or Dollar Tree in Olympus. Who knows? But Zeus is looking into this really bad looking crystal ball and keeping tabs on Hercules and what he's doing on Earth, and Hercules, you got to come back. And that's the plot. Again, I mean, what more can you say about the film? What more, it's embarrassing. It's now the director here. Looking at the director, he's done a lot of stuff I never heard of. I mean, but he's worked in some TV, like Hill Street Blues. He did some episodes of that. Murder, She Wrote. This director, Arthur Allan Seidelman, and the writer Aubrey Weisberg, who also wrote The Man from Planet X. And she's, this writer's done a lot of stuff I never really seen. But, yeah, I'm trying to think, what can I really talk about this film? I mean, the cast, Arnold, even though I watched the version where it's his voice, like there's moments where his English is rough. I mean, what can you say about that? I mean, Arnold here is in his early 20s, but still, I mean, and you got the character of Pretzi, played by Arnold Stang. I did not care for the character of Pretzi. I thought his character was annoying. I know, Arnold Stang was a comedian at this time. He had done some films, but as a character in the film, Like the stuff between him and Hercules. I did not care for the Pretzi character. To me, he really got on my nerves. More annoying than anything. I'm not saying that Arnold Stang is bad. He may be good in other stuff, in regards to, like comedies back then. But here in this film, he's a weasel type of character. That's the best way I can describe that character. He's just very weasel-like, and he just came off annoying to me. And mixed, when you add Arnold's performance to the mix, which is embarrassing. So you have an embarrassing performance by Arnold, then you have a side character, a buddy character, who's very weasel-like and annoying. Yeah, it just doesn't. It makes it bad. I mean, I'm trying to think of other words to describe it. It's just bad. And like I said, you got James Cameron in the film, who I mentioned was in Poltergeist. You have his daughter. I mean, there's not a lot of big supporting names, like big, like actors, or just supporting actors that you've seen before. There's not a lot of people that I've seen before that are in this film. Um, but that's the cast. I mean, direction-wise, it's badly directed. I mean, badly written. The comedy, while at times you can laugh at because of how stupid it is. So if people say, well, this is comedy gold, or, you know, it's, it's a, yeah, I mean, like I said, the moments where you got Arnold, like Hercules in the park, doing the Olympics type stuff, and, throwing the discus, making the jump, fighting the bear in Central Park, you know, uh, the scene where, where he grabs a forklift and he's like, a fine chariot, but where are your horses? So you got moments like that. There's a moment where he flips a cab. There's this weightlifting competition thing where his powers are drained because I believe Zeus took his powers. And you got Hercules in this weight competition, and suddenly he has no more strength. And I like this one moment where he's like, I can't do it, and throws his towel down. And then you got the chariot, where Hercules is on the chariot in New York. He's trying to pursue these guys in a car, and it just comes off bad. And then by the end of the film, Hercules is, he's gone back to Olympus, and Pretzi is sitting there, sad that his friend is gone. But, Hercules comes through on the radio, which is weird. Yeah, because Pretzi's sitting there next to a radio, and Hercules, which sounds nothing like Hercules, and it sounds like the dubbed voice. But a voice comes through on the radio saying that I'm still here, if you just remember me in the good times, and film ends. And, yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot I could say here. I mean, like I said, it gets a 3.3 in IMDb. As a comedy, it's a really bad comedy. Again, there's moments where you can chuckle at some of the stupidity of fighting the bear in the park, which it's a guy in a bear suit, flipping a cab over, some of the delivery of lines, with Arnold, being as young as he is here, because his English is not, great by any means. And just how bad Olympus looks, and, the characters in Olympus, again, it looks like it was made for $5, maybe even $2. So at the end of the day, yeah, this is a rough debut for Arnold. It's a rough movie to sit through. It's not... If people want to throw it in their top 10 worst movies of all time, now I've seen worse, but I can see, how this film could be, let's say, in the top 50 worst, or what have you. But, going overboard with Adam Sandler, that really is torturous. The Rollerball remake is, to me, worse than this. At the end of the day, I would just say it's a really bad comedy with an embarrassing performance from Arnold, an annoying side character. Yes, a lot of silly moments in the film, but it's more bad than silly. Um, which I know later on Arnold would do comedies, like Twins and Kindergarten Cop, but you have a great director that, can work with Arnold. You have great writers, that, can work with Arnold, and Arnold makes the lines work. He makes the film work because of the writers, because of the dialogue, like you thinking, even Jing All the Way, even. I mean, put that cookie down, and the Kindergarten Cop, it's not a tuma. And Yakety Yak, that scene in Twins. Arnold would get better later on in comedy, but this is not it. Unfortunately, this is not it. And yeah, so like I said, even Arnold regrets making this film. But yeah, that's all I have for this review or rant, if you want to say. But yeah, that's all I got. I don't know what more I can say about this film. Definitely skip. Um, but that's my rant and review on Hercules in New York, Arnold's debut film. Thank you for watching. And next, for the Arnold-thon, I'll be talking about and reviewing Stay Hungry. So I'll be checking that out soon. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.